All right, and welcome into BP NFL. It's the Week 10 Early Lines and Picks episode. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, filling in for Joe Pisapia, who is once again away on vacation because, let's face it, folks, Uncle Joey getting up there in age a little bit, and like all snowbirds, needs to hit the reset button every once in a while down in the Florida sunshine. And of course, I'm joined by one of the other young millennials on the BP staff. He's a New Englander who lives by Bill Belichick's mantra, no days off. He's Andrew Erickson. Erickson, how are you today, and how did Week 9 treat you?
Week 9 was a positive week for the most part. I think that I'll probably end up finishing 3-2 in the props. The best bets, hit one of my touchdown bets, so I cannot complain.
Kind of frustrated myself a little bit on the betting side, Erickson. 4 for 5 on my player props, 1 for 2 on the anytime TD. So happy about that. But Jamar Chase dropped a bunch of touchdowns that could have potentially cashed that bet. And I was a Rashee Rice over away from being perfect on the week. Also would have hit the parlay of the week. And I had it at plus 118, 6.5 receptions, 3 units down. And that just killed me because he didn't come anywhere close to that. And I couldn't believe that felt like the lock of the week.
Yeah, the Bills decided to cover Rashee Rice in the second half.
Yeah.
Which, again, kudos to them, right? I'm giving out kudos left and right here on today's program because, hey, some teams deserve their flowers after great performances. The Buffalo team total, that was one of the bets I did hit. Again, I was not going to sweat the sides. I was like, well, the Bills are going to score at least 28 points here because that's what you have to do when you face the Kansas City Chiefs. So they were pedal to the metal, a lot of fourth down attempts. Again, even convert all of them, but you knew that both teams going in were going to have an aggressive mindset. So that was one of my better bets from Week 9.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Of course, today's program does look like this. We'll give you an early handicap of all 14 games on the upcoming slate and any early picks that Erickson or myself are laying down. As always, shout out to everyone who's hanging out with us either on the BettingPros YouTube channel or the audio feed. These use freeway sports. It's always giving this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new so you don't miss a moment of NFL and CFB betting coverage this fall. And let's start on Thursday night where the 2-6 Las Vegas Raiders are 9.5 to 10.5 point road dogs against the 7-2 Denver Broncos. Pete Carroll's team right now 3-5 ATS. They're coming off a cover, but a near overtime loss against the Jaguars where they went for 2 to try to win it all. Denver 4-1 ATS this season, coming off a 3-point win and cover against the Houston Texans, who lost CJ Stroud early in that game. They went 2-0 against the Raiders a year ago, winning by an average of 13 points. So are you expecting anything different this time around, Erickson?
This line is way too big for the Broncos. I'm sorry. Like, we saw what this offense looks like when they have Brock Bowers, right? Like, they can actually move the football. Geno Smith looks like a competent quarterback. We thought after week 1, man, the Raiders, are they low-key kind of good? But Bowers gets banged up, and then the Raiders are terrible every other game. Bowers comes back after the bye week, is an absolute monster, and gives the Raiders a fighting chance in a game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, Seth, I mean, we've watched enough Thursday night games this year where who has dominated the divisional matchups? The underdogs. Almost every single time. Now, a lot of them have been at home, not playing on the road, so that is a factor here, but you're getting 10 points with a divisional matchup on a Thursday night on a short week. I'm taking the dogs. Give me the Raiders.
I totally understand that. The only caveat I would say, and I'd ask you about, are you worried that the Raiders had to play almost a full extra quarter on Sunday and also got to be probably in pretty low spirits after losing that heartbreaker?
I think that that's definitely playing into the lines, I would say. I think that you're kind of getting that factored in where, they're coming off overtime, deflating loss in a big game. Whereas the Broncos, I mean, look, every game against the Texans, right? That's a tough matchup, right? Because of how physical the Texans play defensively. So we'll see if Patrick Surtain can suit up in this game. I know it's a short week for Denver, so we'll see if he comes back after missing last week. But I just think the value right now just is on the divisional underdog here with 10 points.
Okay. The NFL says Guten Morgen from Germany on Sunday with the 7-2 Indianapolis Colts. They're laying 6 to 6.5 points on the 3-5 Atlanta Falcons. Colts, of course, coming off just their third game that they failed to cover this season, losing 27-20 in Pittsburgh, a game in which they had 6 turnovers in total. And things are really starting to derail pretty quickly for Atlanta right now. They've dropped 3 in a row, including that nasty 34-10 loss to the Dolphins a couple weeks ago. They did cover against the Patriots last week, though. So, Erickson, where are you headed on this one?
I'm going to buy the bounce back on the Indianapolis Colts here. The Colts
Okay.
tend to perform better as favorites. Obviously, it did not work last week, but that was one of the reasons why I really liked them last week for the game against the Steelers. Shane Steichen was 16-2 straight up as a favorite. And what we usually see from these international games is favorites usually win and cover, and you usually see the game go towards the under. So I don't think I'll have a play on the sides or the total here, just because you have so much explosiveness from the running backs in this game, Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson. You know, a bet that I really liked with the Colts, if they had just not totally been terrible against the Pittsburgh Steelers, was
Yeah.
you could have money line or parlay Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdown with the Colts money line, and you got pretty decent odds for that. So maybe that's something that I would spin here, where you can bring the total or you can bring the spread down for the Colts, maybe Colts -3 plus a Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdown. Again, didn't hit last week
Mm.
because Taylor didn't score any
Hmm.
touchdowns. So, but
Yeah.
if the Colts win and cover, Jonathan Taylor's probably going to find the end zone, because that's usually the case of the Colts playing well offensively. So I think that maybe get you a better value on this line. But for right now,
Hmm.
I'll take the Colts.
Yeah, I kind of do like the Colts early in this one before it's going to get above a touchdown. Daniel Jones 1-0 overseas. If you remember a couple years ago, I think it was actually in Germany where he beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers with the Giants. And then at the same time, too, like Michael Penix Jr., he's never played overseas. So I don't know if that changes things up and maybe makes it, I don't know, a little bit bigger of a spot for a younger quarterback like that in Michael Penix. So looking forward to that one on Sunday morning. In the 1 o'clock slate, though, the 1-8 New Orleans Saints, they are 4.5 to 5.5 point underdogs to the 5-4 Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have been running it down everyone's throat right now with Rico Dowdle, and it's working. They're sitting above 500 straight up, 6-3 ATS as well. They just beat the Packers in Lambeau Field. And the Saints, they are a league worst 2-6 ATS, and they have not been able to stop the run as of late. With Tyler Shuck at quarterback, I think this is an easy spot for me to lay the points with the Panthers here, Erickson. Do you feel differently, and will 4.5 be the best number we're looking at this week?
I think so. I know that Rico Dowdle was getting some medical attention at times during
Mm-hmm.
last week's game, so just want to make sure that Uncle Rico is ready to go.
Yeah, for real.
before you're betting on anything Carolina Panthers related. But the trend that you want to attack here is, again, Carolina plays much better at home than on the road. And, they give credit to them. They showed up last week when the Packers did not, and they won outright as a
Mm-hmm.
massive underdog on the road. That's not something you usually see what Bryce Young do. He's been terrible on the road, but they're at home. And that's where they usually cover as
Mm-hmm.
underdogs at a really high rate. And you just want to continue to bet against rookie quarterbacks on the road. Like, basically, if it's not a rookie quarterback facing the Denver Broncos, that bet is cashed every single time this year.
Yeah,
So Tyler Shuck making his second start. We'll see what the Saints do. We'll see who's left on the Saints, because I think that they're going to be trading away some of their key pieces before
good
this week's
point.
trade deadline. So
Good
you may not
point.
even see guys like Rashid Shaheed. He might be gone. So you're just losing firepower. You're losing weapons. I think that affects the team, right? You have younger players playing, but besides that, I think that they might get worse. I mean, if they lose to Mario Davis, right, a linebacker, if he's not playing, man, you can't set the under over at Rico Dowdle rushing yards high enough. So I will also I like the Panthers here too.
Well, and I think that's even more one reason to get down on Carolina early, right? Before those trades happen and potentially make the Saints team look even worse, which is pretty freaking hard to do. Hopefully one day our friend Derek Brown can return to his Saints fandom, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Let's go to the Windy City, where the Chicago Bears are 3.5 point favorites over the 2-7 New York Giants. The Bears nearly had a collapse of the ages against the Bengals last week, ended up winning and covering 47-42 to get to 5-3 ATS. Anyone who was on the Bears last week, my goodness, was that a run? And it was the welcoming party as well for both rookies, Colston Loveland and Kyle Monangai. So the boys got to be buzzing up there in Chicago. Brian Dable's bunch, meanwhile, they've dropped 3 in a row. They're now 4-5 ATS, giving up 30-plus points in 3 straight games. So Erickson, I'm not usually a huge fan in taking overs in Chicago in November with unpredictable weather potentially there, but is this maybe a spot to attack either the totals or team totals market, or are you sticking ATS in this one?
Yeah, I think that team total for the Bears, I think, is pretty intriguing here. And
I think so
with
too.
the Giants too, I mean, Jackson Dart just continues to make magic despite the fact that he just seems
Mm-hmm.
to lose weapons every other week. I do have concerns about the Giants taking advantage of the Chicago Bears run defense, at least, because if it's going to be Devin Singletary as the lead guy, I don't know if the upside is going to be there. I'm not really sure. Again, I have to rewatch the Giants game to kind of get an idea of what the Tyrone Tracy experience was and why they decided, like, hey, let's use Devin Singletary more than Tyrone Tracy. I wouldn't do that
Mhm.
personally. Maybe it's a trust thing. I know that Dayball has had his issues with Tyron Tracy in the past.
Singletary ain't bad, man. Singletary ain't bad.
Yeah, that's fair. And coaches really like him, specifically Dayball. Like, there's a reason he's on the
Yeah,
roster,
that's his
and
guy.
he does like him a lot. And Tracy just seems like he frustrates Brian Dayball more than anything. But I digress. I like the Bears here in this spot overall. Caleb Williams tends to perform better as a favorite than he does as an
Mm.
underdog. They're playing at home, where he also tends to play a lot better. I think Ben Johnson, again, we saw it last week against a bad defense. Dude, he's doing everything. He's unloaded the entire playbook to just show off what he can do offensively. And against another bad defense that continues to lose defensive playmakers week after week, I don't think he's going to hold back and trying to score points, because he knows that, hey, as the head coach, how do I look good? I put up points for my
Mhm.
offense. Don't really care what my defense is, because both defenses are bad because they're all injured. So I think I also like the Bears here, and probably game total going over.
Okay. And today's show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably deep in the stats, injury reports, and matchups. And on Hard Rock Bet, you can put your fantasy football knowledge to the test. Try your first bet on Hard Rock Bet today. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you not only get your winnings, but also $150 in extra bonus bets. And if you're looking for an edge before you lock in, check out the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub. It's loaded with trends, streaks, and stats to help guide your picks. Numbers don't lie, and neither does the data in there. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal book for whenever you're in the great state of Florida, like our friend Joey P right now. And it's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado, coming to more states very, very soon. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos every single day. So whenever you're listening to this, just open up the app and check out what they've got any day of the week. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit today. We've got a couple of big dogs lined up for a banger in Tampa Bay, where the 6-2 Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites over the AFC East leading New England Patriots. New England, they're coming off their sixth straight win, but their 24-23 win against the Falcons was the first game they hadn't covered during that streak. Tampa Bay, they hope to have gotten somewhat healthier over the bye. They'll, of course, be without Mike Evans for the rest of the season. The statuses of Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin currently unknown. And even without those guys, though, still 5-3 ATS, winning and covering in 3 of their last 4. So, Erickson, do you have a play in this one?
Yeah, I think I like the Pats here on the road. I think that, well, Furman tried to tell everybody last week that the Falcons were going to cover, and he was right. And
Yeah.
that was not Drake May's best game. Fumbling, some
I think
turnovers.
Booty going out hurt him a little bit, too.
I would agree with that. So, not want to say the Patriots were going to lose that game against the Falcons, but they definitely gave Atlanta a lot of opportunities to not to stick around and not put them away. So,
Right.
again, they were on a streak of 4 straight covers. No one goes undefeated against the spread. So eventually you're going to see another team give it up, especially with the line like 5.5. But now you have Patriots on the road. I think that you could see them show out here. Maybe even upset the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a bye week. We still don't know exactly the health of all the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playmakers. So we're assuming,
Right.
hey, they'll be all good to go. So I think maybe right now, early, it is to get on the Patriots here early on, because we may get announcements that, oh yeah, no, Bucky Irving, he's not ready to play. It's like, okay, like that's
Right.
not good. Oh, Chris
Right.
Godwin, he's also not ready to play. It's like, okay, like that's not a good. I would say though, on the Patriots side, their defense plays so much worse when Christian Gonzalez is not on the field. The minute that he's knocked out of the
Yeah,
game,
you're
like
right.
their
Good
defense
point.
just starts giving up monster yardage totals. And all of Drake London's touchdowns last week were when he was matched up with non-corners that were named Christian Gonzalez. So the Falcons took advantage of that. They put Drake London in position to not match up against Gonzalez, and that's why he scored 3 touchdowns against mismatches Marcus Jones. So still though, game total over, I like the Patriots here, assuming that the Buccaneers don't get all their guys back. And I will say with Tampa Bay, you want to bet on Baker Mayfield when he's on the road and an underdog. Like that's usually where you're going to get your best return for him. When he's at home as a favorite, typically not as
Yeah.
strong as results for
Yeah.
Baker
Good point.
Mayfield. So I know last time we saw them, they didn't put up this amazing offensive performance. Like, let's not forget, they played the Saints and they played kind of an ugly game. They obviously ended up winning,
They
but
did.
and that game was on the road. But I think I do like the Patriots here.
Okay, yeah. I don't know what was going on with Drake London and Christian Gonzalez, but Drake London he was like mad still when Christian Gonzalez is lying on the floor, like lifeless for a second. Like he did not care. I don't know if something was said about his mama or if these two got a long standing beef, but Drake London fired up, man. Fired up. Always impressive. We also had the 6-2 Buffalo Bills, who they're coming in and they're traveling south to hope to maintain pace here with the Patriots. Right now, they are 8.5 to 9.5 point favorites over the 2-7 Miami Dolphins. Buffalo, they beat the Dolphins by 10 earlier this season, and they're coming off a blowout win over the Panthers and a pretty dominant win over the Chiefs to get to 4-5 ATS. Miami, they have a mini bye week they're coming off of from that 28-6 Thursday night football loss to the Ravens. The game, they struggle to convert on third downs, hold on to the ball once again. Feels like their entire season under Tua Tagovailoa. Andrew, what's your approach to this game? And is there anything other than James Cook props that you'll be down on?
I mean, right now, if you like Buffalo, you probably should bet it right now. I think that's probably the move because I think this line is going to move in favor of the Buffalo Bills. You're already seeing Miami is starting to sell off pieces. They just traded Jalen Phillips to the Philadelphia Eagles, so that's a defensive player gone. The defense isn't going to get any better anytime soon. So I think for me, dude, what I've made the most money is with the Buffalo Bills is just betting the team total over every single time and not sweating the spread because I know that more often than not, they're going to score at least 30 points. And I don't then have to figure out, well, if Miami shows up, because sometimes Miami's offense, especially when they play at home, like sometimes their offense shows up and sometimes it's decent. Other times it doesn't show up at all and they get blown out like we saw against the Baltimore Ravens. So I do shy away here from the spread, especially if we get the double digits. I love to take home underdog as double digits, especially when they also qualify as close your eye specials, which the Miami Dolphins do here because they're coming off a massive blowout loss, especially on a primetime spot. So, yeah, Buffalo right now is probably the best number, even like their team total, like bet that now, just because I think it's going to move in their direction as we start to see Dolphins trade off some more assets.
The 3-5 Baltimore Ravens are also on a rest advantage over the 4-4 Minnesota Vikings, which is maybe why they're favored by 3.5 points in this one. The Ravens, of course, they got back Lamar Jackson on Thursday Night Football, made pretty quick work of the Dolphins to get to 3-5 ATS. Minnesota, they got back J.J. McCarthy at quarterback and upset the Lions, actually, giving them their fourth cover of the season. With still a lot to learn about both these teams, I'm not really sure who they are with the quarterbacks just now coming back. This feels like probably one of the tougher games for me to handicap on this slate. Do you have a read on it, Andrew Erickson?
I don't have a play on the total. I think that line's pretty sharp, 46.5, 47.5. I like laying the points with Baltimore. If looking at Hard Rock Bet, it looks like -3.
Yep.
I like the value there, even though the Ravens are playing on the road. I've just seen so much of this boom bust Brian Flores defense where at times it can just get absolutely shredded by opposing passers. And Lamar, look, extra time off this mini bye week to make sure that he is back to 100%. I thought that he looked fine on Thursday night against ripping apart the Miami Dolphins. And I don't know the exact number, but doesn't Lamar just absolutely own the NFC? Doesn't he just like absolutely shred against the NFC opponents?
They don't seem as much. So they're just not as prepared for how quick this guy is.
Yeah. So I just think that with extra time to prepare, yes, the Vikings are coming off an emotional win. McCarthy back, showing out, upset as massive underdogs. I think maybe the Vikings are getting a little bit too much love for that particular game versus the Ravens, who, I mean, I want to go back to what I thought they were at the beginning of the season, because when all their guys are healthy, like that's what they are. And I just think that when you look at any of the advanced metrics, it's all kind of skewed because, well, half the team wasn't playing during those weeks. You had Cooper Rush play certain games. So the numbers don't really tell the story when it's like, I look up, I want to bet on Lamar Jackson when he's only favored by a field goal. That's it. I don't care where this game can be playing on the moon. And I want to bet Lamar Jackson to win by more than a field goal. So I like the Ravens.
Yeah, right now I'm seeing that 3-point line still hanging around Hard Rock Bet, our friends over there, but it was 3 at a lot of books and it's been moving. So if you're wanting to get in the Ravens here at 3 or less, you're going to have to probably go sooner rather than later. And man, this AFC North race is going to be fun with the Ravens just trying to come all the way back and catch up with the Steelers. I'm excited to see how it shakes out there. We also have the 5-3 Jacksonville Jaguars, who just barely got out of Las Vegas with the 30-29 overtime win against the Raiders. But in that game, we did have wide receiver Ryan Thomas Jr. He got banged up in the process. This just comes days after second overall pick Travis Hunter placed on IR with that non-contact knee injury suffered in practice. They're now 1.5 point underdogs against the Houston Texans here that are 3-5 straight up. They did lose to the Broncos 18-15 last week at home, a game where CJ Stroud knocked out with a possible concussion. So Erickson, we've got a ton of unknowns in this one between two teams who have just been pretty average against the spread this season. The total just sitting at a meager 37.5 points. So is there any early line value to pounce on, or is this just a spot where, hey, let's wait, get a little more clarity on who's up and who's down?
I mean, I think if you like the sides, you probably just want to bet Jacksonville because I think this line probably flips if we get announced that CJ Stroud's just not going to play,
Okay.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
usually what happens is when guys have concussions, they usually don't play the next week. Now, sometimes it's been different. I mean, Nico Collins, just a week ago, he missed a game after he got a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Stroud, man, guy's taking so many hits behind this patchwork offensive line. They lost 2 more offensive linemen in this game. It's just,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's a mess right now for Houston. So, I mean, even if he was playing, are you so confident? Oh, well, they're definitely going to win, right? Like, I wouldn't be confident
Right.
in that
Right.
either way. So I think this is closer to pick 'em anyway, even if Stroud plays. So I would just take the Jaguars here with the points because I think this line is going to move in their favor once we get a
Mm-hmm.
potential announcement, or worse, it just stays the same. And I think that you're still live as Jaguars plus 1.5 for them to just lose by a point or even win outright. So I think the Jaguars are probably the value here. And my best bet of this game is probably going to be on my card is just the game total going under.
Okay.
I
Okay. Yeah.
anytime you see Texans at home, you just bet the under. It's been that trend. I believe it's the last 13 home games where the Texans have been favored. 12 of them have gone under the total.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
was
Okay.
very much
Okay.
on Texans Broncos under last week, and despite that game almost going into overtime, was not sweating it. I was like, nope, this game's going under. Not worried about it. So that's probably my best bet. Even though the line's at 37.5, 38.5, it's
Mm-hmm.
this Texans defense, man, just can't move the ball against them. And Jacksonville can barely move the ball when they're not getting in their own way. So
Right. Right. Okay, so some early line value on Duval there for Erickson. And thankfully, we didn't have to watch either the 2-6 Cleveland Browns or the 1-7 New York Jets play football in week 9. It was glorious, but they're up against each other here. And the Jets, they're coming in as 1.5 to 2.5 point favorites. The Jets, they got their first win of the season against the Bengals in Cincinnati last time out, getting to 4-4 ATS. Cleveland, meanwhile, they failed to cover in that blowout loss in New England in week 8, falling now to 2-5 ATS. So, Erickson, do you have a play in the Loser Bowl? It's featuring a total of 36.5 points if you want it.
I think that you should probably just bet on the Jets right now, as bad as that sounds, because we're going to see this always happen every single week. The sharp money comes into the Jets. It pushes the line. They're going to be favored by a field goal by the time this line closes. So get it now at -1.5. The Browns defense is not nearly as good when they play on the road. And Dylan Gabriel's the quarterback, right? Bet against rookie quarterbacks on the road. That's the system that works. So I think just the Jets is just the value here. And I think it's going to move. And they're going to close as field goal favorites. That's what I would bet.
Do you think any NFL trade deadline implications could come into play here? Obviously, Breece Hall's been a name on the market. We've also seen the rumors, which feel more like rumors than facts, that Myles Garrett could potentially be on the move as well. So do you see any of those implications taking form here?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
that, especially with the Jets coming off a win, although it was last week because they were on a bye week,
Sure.
a lot of the media that I absorbed this week was anybody who lost this week, they're going to sell their assets. If you lost in
Okay.
week 9, you're going to sell your pieces. Whereas if you won,
Mhm.
even if it almost like doesn't matter what your record is, just for like team morale standpoint, it's like, no, we won. We're keeping the band together. We're not
Yeah.
separating. Whereas like the Bengals, I mean, Jamar Chase is ready to trade the entire defense off the team.
Well, I don't know if there's anyone to trade on that defense, so slim pickings. But that's what happens when you get all the money, right? Sometimes you don't get the best people on the opposite side of the ball, and Chase is learning that. So love hearing that. And also opening up the 4 p.m. slate is the Arizona Cardinals. They're 2-5. They're on the road in Seattle as 7.5 point road dogs to the 6-2 Seahawks. We still haven't seen the Cards on Monday night yet, but they are coming off 5 straight losses straight up. 4 of those coming ATS as well. Seattle legitimately looks like one of the best teams in the NFC. Sam Darnold is dealing right now at a very high clip. They've won 3 straight. They've gotten to a league best 6-2 ATS. So are you comfortable laying a touchdown with the Seahawks in this one, Erickson? Or does Jonathan Gannon potentially being on the hot seat, maybe not even being there by next week, change things for you?
I don't think we have a play on this game because I still don't know who's going to be the quarterback for the Cardinals. Because I think
Yeah.
that if it's Kyler versus Jacoby Brissett, I think that kind of matters. And if you like the Cardinals, I
Mm-hmm.
think you like Jacoby Brissett, especially if he's feeling good about coming off a game against the Dallas Cowboys. I would say, though, I think my play on this game will be towards the under. If you look at,
Okay.
and this was one of the trends I liked when I was talking about the Broncos and Texans game, teams after facing Dallas, which basically every single game goes over the total, only one time this year has that game gone over again. So when teams face Dallas, you basically get inflated lines because, oh my God, this offense is so good. And
Okay.
then they face another defense. So basically, when you go from Dallas to Seattle, that's just going to result in significantly less scoring. So I
Right.
actually like the under on this game. And I think this is one you actually want to wait because if the Cardinals offense shows out against Dallas, basically every offense does, or just looks competent, I think maybe you see this move up to like 46.5. I would slam the under because I just don't think that we're going to see nearly as much offensive production, especially if it's Kyler Murray
Okay.
starting. So I like a play
Right.
on the total here.
And guys, make sure you are downloading the free BettingPros app for iOS and Android. And with the Sportsbook Sync feature, you can automatically track your bets across all major books in just one simple spot. Easily monitor your bet performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and of course, parlays. Create custom betting systems to find winning trends and profitable opportunities. New users, you can score yourself 6 months of BP Premium for free on the house with your first deposit and wager at any of our partner sportsbooks. Just go to bettingpros.com/premium to learn more. The 5-3 Detroit Lions hope to get right in the nation's capital, where they're 7.5 to 9-point favorites against the 3-6 Washington Commanders. Detroit, they lost as 4.5-point home favorites against Minnesota last week, but they still are better than most teams' ATS this season. For the Commies, it looks like a lost season after losing Jaden Daniels to that gruesome arm injury in their Sunday Night Football collapse against the Seahawks. It's 4 straight losses straight up in ATS coming in for Washington, and I have to imagine a ton of money is coming in against them right now, considering the discrepancy in the market by nearly 1.5. So are you going to get in the bed with the public this week here, Erickson?
Going back to the Lions after they destroyed so many people's money and bankrolls last week.
Survivor pool picks.
Man, that's why, man, division games. We try. It's like they teach us these lessons every single week, and it's like we just
Right.
don't learn. It's like, no, it's a division. It's like the one division game last week. Of course, it was an upset. Right. Like when you think about it, you're like,
Yeah.
of course the Vikings are going to upset the Lions. It's the only divisional game going on. So just keep that in mind, guys, as we're continuing to learn here. Man, this one is tough because I don't like betting on Jared Goff when he plays outside. So weather, that's something you got to check here.
Okay.
As the calendar flips to November, always stay ahead with the weather stuff. So that's something to keep in mind before you lay the points with the Lions. However, when you talk about Dan Campbell and how good he is after they lose, man, this is just such an uphill battle for the Commanders. And like you said in the introduction, the season's so lost for the Commanders, right? This is what happens when you build your second year quarterback around the oldest roster in the NFL. This is the result. So
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, I like the Lions now, but if it gets up to like Commanders, like plus 10.5, again, I like double digit dogs, especially when they're at home. So I think right now you got to get in the Lions because, to your point, the money's coming in.
Yeah, it's coming in drones right now. And yeah, I mean, I get it. Like the Commanders, why they went all in. Like they tried to build kind of like almost a super team, and they just relied on a couple of old players. Terry McLaurin sat out half the preseason and training camp. Like that matters, man. Like you got to be there. You got to get warmed up, man. Like I'll never draft after last year with Brandon Ayuk. I'll never draft in fantasy another player that's, doing the sit out game. It's just, it's not profitable, and it's not profitable for betting either when we come into the season a lot of times. So moving forward, though, we've also got a game in the late window that could shape up the NFC West race very interestingly. The 6-2 Los Angeles Rams, they come into the Bay Area as 3.5-point favorites. The Rams got their third straight win and cover last week against the Saints, but their straight up loss last time was to the San Francisco 49ers all the way back in October. So they've been on a heater since then. We still have no idea the statuses of quarterback Brock Purdy, wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, but we do know no Fred Warner, no Nick Bosa, of course. Michael Williams, Bryce Huff, and center Jake Brendel, they're also all questionable after missing this last week. However, it didn't really seem to matter because they went into the Giants 134-24 on the road to get to 5-3 straight up. So will this be a similar spot that we have to continue to back San Francisco while they're dogs, or are we kind of hopping back on the Rams here?
I'm hopping back on the Rams. Who's a better team? Who is the best team in the NFL? Is it not the Rams?
Oh, man, I don't know.
That's
Seattle's up there. Seattle's up there, man.
So you're saying Seattle's favored neutral site against the Rams?
Oh, no,
There
the
you
books
go.
would, no.
So
Yeah.
so look, my power rankings, I have Rams number 1. I think they're the
Okay.
best. Right, Matthew Stafford is just playing an unreal level. And despite the fact that Puka Nacua gets hurt in every game, it doesn't matter because he just
Yeah.
comes back at some point. So, again, a little bit of a revenge narrative here. We saw the 49ers upset the Rams a couple weeks ago back on one of those Thursday nights. The Rams, traditionally, this is one of their best spots is when they're on the road. You get value on them because they are known as the road team. I think this should be a bit larger than a 3.5-point spread. 49ers have no one left on defense, right? You talk about Mikael Williams. He's out for the season now with like a torn ACL or torn Achilles injury. So we saw the Rams last week against the Saints run out like 4 tight end personnel, just pounding the rock down, and the Saints had no answers for it. So they could just win in so many different ways. And I think Sean McVay is just going to put this defense that has nobody left through an absolute blender. So, yeah, give me the Rams. I don't think that 3.5 is enough points.
Maybe my favorite bet of last week was Blake Corum over 7.5 rushing attempts. Not even a sweater. Not even a sweater. Hit that early in the second half. So shout out to Blake Corum and Sean McVay for getting me that one. And let's go to Sunday Night Football, where it doesn't get any better than this, at least for me. The 5-3 Pittsburgh Steelers come off a huge upset win against the Colts. They're traveling to face the 6-3 Chargers, also coming off a win against the Titans. Los Angeles, they're laying 3 points at most books, but there is the key number of plus 3.5 if you want the Steelers available at one particular book. So is there any early value in this spot, Erickson, between two teams that haven't been extremely profitable or predictable this season?
I mean, when I first saw the Justin Herbert pick 6, I'm like, this is so West Coast, East Coast thing with the Chargers.
after I don't know if that was after or before the punt return as well, but yeah,
that is just so classic Chargers going on the East Coast just to do that type of thing. So, man, I don't think I have a lean on this game. I think that my numbers match up pretty close to what the Steelers and Chargers have here with the books.
Okay.
So I think for right now, this is something I'm going to take a deeper dive into on the primer this week.
Okay. Let's go ahead then and let's round it out with Monday Night Football, where the 5-2-1 Green Bay Packers, they are 2.5-point home favorites against the 6-2 Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles, they're coming off their bye. They had a chance to get healthier after some of their best offensive performances of the season, getting them to 5-3 straight up. We also know they have been making some trades fast and furious, trying to acquire some more talent. Jair Alexander, we also had the trade with the Dolphins earlier today. And as of Monday, it's looking like Saquon Barkley could be back as early as Monday. The Packers, meanwhile, they just got gashed and upset by the Carolina Panthers, dropping them to 3-5 ATS. And maybe most importantly, you mentioned it at the top here, the offensive linchpin, tight end Tucker Kraft. He's done for the season with the knee injury. So Erickson, I'm sort of liking the Eagles here with an extra week to prepare, getting healthy. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to know what this line was going into week 9. Right? Because obviously the Packers feel much less like a safe bet to make. After you lose against the Carolina Panthers at home, you lose your best offensive player, most explosive offensive player in Tucker Kraft. He was averaging over 10 yards after the catch. Absolutely insane. And he's not the only receiver that got banged up. Matthew Golden got banged up in this game for Green Bay. So what's been making this Packers offense work is Josh Jacobs grinding away yards and scoring a lot of touchdowns, and then explosiveness. So now if you're taking away two of the most explosive playmakers on this offense between Tucker Kraft and Matthew Golden, I think I agree with you. I think that you got to look at the Eagles here coming off a bye week where we saw last week. What did they do? Or last year? What happened after the bye week? They just went on a friggin' run. They just went on an absolute tear. So it seems like they've kind of figured out themselves, self-identify what we need to fix. So yeah, right now, again, I feel like usually you get value on the team that really disappointed the week before, but because Green Bay is still favored here, I think the value is still on the Philadelphia Eagles, and maybe we're kind of holding too close to our priors on, well, Green Bay can beat anybody. Well, without Tucker Kraft, I think that does change significantly in this defense, man. It shows up sometimes it doesn't, and just these overwhelming performances against teams like the Browns, Bengals, the Panthers. I mean, yeah, Green Bay feels like, yeah, they can beat any team, and they could also get beat by any team. So against the Philadelphia Eagles, I think I like the Birds.
To your point, the Eagles actually open up here on the look ahead line as 1.5 point favorites. So I don't know what caused it to swing back the other. Maybe it's Saquon Barkley's availability, and maybe that's where we're getting a little bit of a value. But I do think there is some EV out there on Philly right now. So I think that's where I will be. And also where you and I will both be is over on the BettingPros app. You can go to bettingpros.com/app and use the search feature to search either Andrew Erickson, Seth Woolcock, even maybe Joe Pisapia. Maybe he's doing some betting on his week off because, of course, Hard Rock Bet is legal down there in Florida. So just search all of our full names. You can find us over there. All right. And that's going to do it for us on this early picks episode of BP NFL. Still to come later this week and every week right here on the BP YouTube channel and the audio feed. You also have Pearl and Fitz's early bets and survivor poll picks, plus Erickson and Welsh's player props on Friday. Let us know down in the comments below your favorite Week 10 picks. We want to hear from you. And while you're here, make sure you're smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you're new. For Andrew Erickson, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.